It is Wednesday, the 22nd day of January 2025, and boy, a lot has happened over the last week, huh? Geesh. Um, the Detroit Lions lost. Josh McDaniels is apparently coming back. We're in the midst of an abysmal cold snap around here. I was passed over for yet another position at work and then managed to lose the company a handful of money. The last member of the band died, if that's at all of an interest to you. President Musk threw around the old Heil Hitler. And Donald Trump renamed the Gulf of Mexico. So a lot has gone on in just a week. And I'm sure, most of that will come up today. But, I guess I wanted to just kind of touch on the obvious, the elephant in the room, if you will. Uh, and that's, the re-inauguration of Donald Trump doing his best Grover Cleveland impression. I've seen, heard, and honestly felt so many different things from so many different people over the course of the last couple of days after what quite frankly felt like a coronation as opposed to an inauguration on Monday. And look, I think a lot of it since has been performative in many ways, and I'm choosing to be positive and somewhat mindful that the Constitution will work as it should and continue to work as it should. It's going to be exceedingly difficult for so many different people in this country for reasons not of their own doing. And it's that lack of empathy from a massive swath of our population is what bothers me most. Our new corporate oligarchy, which is what it's becoming. So it's going to make things much worse before it gets better. Me, personally, I'm a white, middle-aged, middle-class suburbanite and have far, far, far less to worry about than others. But that doesn't mean that I don't care. Simply not caring about other human beings, your fellow Americans, regardless of whatever, shortcoming you or your pals may think that they have, is beyond ignorant and at minimum just unacceptable. I still feel that we're better than this. And why? Fuck if I know. Honestly, I have no clue. You would think that showing who they are would allow me to think, okay, this is who they are. I don't know. It's mainly like the only sort of positivity I have is that I think we're generally, you know, uh, above it. And I don't hate those that support, uh, you know, him or some of his policies. I don't because I don't really find it to be very helpful. Two, I think there are some people who support him just because of the letter next to his name. And then I think there's another group of people that are just simply old school conservatives, uh, and didn't really like sort of some of uh, the tax policies or what of the previous administration. So for those people, like I don't dislike you, I don't hate you. I just think that we think differently. But there are some people who can rightly fuck off because they don't deserve that sort of benefit of the doubt. Some, again, not all, because I guess I'm choosing to think that humanity and most Americans are just morally decent people. That's how I feel. Others are going to feel differently, and that's their opinion. That's perfectly fine. Others are still going to find fault with my opinion, but perfectly fine. Mainly because it's my show and I'm talking into the microphone, so I can do that. I just think that I don't understand making life difficult for people who have zero impact on your own life. Makes any sense whatsoever. So most of that as well as some patting myself on the back about TikTok, snack foods, sports radio, and probably some other random shit on episode number 173 of Complaints and Observations.
Still, a voyage into the mundane and an exercise in futility. Swimming in the absurd while drowning in unearned self-importance. Entirely unworthy of your time. It is the world's worst podcast. This is Complaints and Observations with Dave LaPointe. Who the hell is Dave LaPointe?
I think he's a bum. I think he's an absolute bum.
I waited too long to start talking. All right, what's up? How are you? How's things? Good? All two or three of you. Welcome to the program. I want to kind of get that, my initial general thoughts about all that's happened over the course of the last couple days. I'd like to get that out right up front. Now, I posted on the Instagram page at Complaints Pod that the whole TikTok ban thing was fallacy, a work, if you will, in wrestling parlance. And turns out that's exactly what it was. And if you thought otherwise, you're a fucking idiot. But I mean, it was done to make it look as if somehow the new administration like galloped in on a white horse and saved the day. Mind you, the whole talk of TikTok being banned was done by the right. The fucking law was written by Josh Hawley, who is, I guess, MAGA adjacent, if you will. I don't know. So, I mean, let's be fair and let's be honest. Yet, I know that's very difficult for some, but, that was done purposely. This whole thing was done. And is it a long con? Could be. And if it was, holy fuck. Holy fuck. Like, that's amazing. If this was indeed a long con. And we're talking, what? 5 years? 5 years? But, he comes rolling in and saves the day. So, instead of... I'll talk about that later. Anyways, but the whole thing is just so fucking stupid, right? And then you had content creators who were fearing that their livelihood was going to be lost once TikTok was closed. And look, it still very well could. It just might take a little bit longer as opposed to just flipping the switch overnight. So buckle up, Buttercup. But, the whole thing is just so fucking stupid. And again, it's just that classic China, 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 China. And you know what kills me is I saw an old friend of mine post on Instagram. I can't figure out what side of the fence this dude is standing in most of the time because it's some of the shit that he posts is entirely contradictory. And or maybe it's just so far over my head that I can't figure it out. But regardless, he had a post about China owning like a literal shit ton of farmland in this country. But we still banned TikTok. Was the caption, right? And then he writes in, make it make sense. It's like, it's easy, you fucking numbskull. You elected these fear-mongering assholes. This is what I don't understand. Like, the game is right in front of you, and you're falling for it each and every single fucking time. All of the bullshit, most of the executive orders, it's all theater. to make you forget about what's actually going on right underneath your fucking nose. That the president and his absurdly rich Broligarchs, I stole that. It's phenomenal. Depressing, but phenomenal. Their entire goal is to make themselves and their other friends richer than they already are. And at this point now they basically control just massive swaths, I've used that twice, of media in this country. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, now TikTok, Google, Apple, like all of this shit. The only person who I don't think was at the inauguration was Bill Gates. And I could be entirely wrong. Who knows? Maybe he was there. But if he wasn't, it doesn't mean that he didn't contribute to the inauguration or contribute to his campaign, whatever. Soft as puppy poo, that guy, but again, like filthy rich. So, you have these guys. All right, let me get my thoughts in order here, right? His whole thing, his first go around was drain the swamp, and he's just gone and built his own swamp. It's an entirely different swamp. But it's right in front of your face. And again, this is not just a right issue. This is a both sides issue here. It's just that now you have the right is in office, and they're the ones in charge. So now we yell at them and we criticize them, even though they're just shittier humans in general for the most part. They're front facing now, so now I can see, and everybody should see. But the part that kills me is like, when is his base? When is MAGA? When are they going to realize that their hero and their heroes now do not care about them? People can't afford to buy houses. They can't get proper health care. They're about to lose their job to AI or to automation. They can't afford groceries. And yet, far too many are somehow thinking that having a president that places his multi billionaire tech buddies, seating them in front of his fucking cabinet, is somehow going to make their lives better. They'll catch on eventually, but it'll be too late by the time. And look, remember, it's been a game all along, and it's been perpetuated by both sides. But the way that this is playing out is that all of the power is going to be filtered to these obscenely rich people. Being rich is not enough. They need to hold some sort of power over the general population. And it's not even specific. I'm certain of it. It's not specific at all. They don't care. It just needs to be some kind of power that they can wield. But I'm still convinced, like, eventually the infighting is going to get worse. You'll start to see them, because the egos in that room, sky high, right? You can't have that kind of ego competing against like ego. It's just not going to work. It won't work. It's just a matter of how long it takes. And that's the concern. But now let's talk about the Democrats, if you will, okay? There was a glaringly obvious opportunity to flood the media, flood television, radio, social media, anything, newspapers, drop flyers from fucking planes, I don't know, anything, with responses and reactions before, during, and after the inauguration. And yet, there is nothing that I can singularly point to that says, hey, that's a party response. And the responses that we did get are generally from the same people. You get AOC because she loves being on camera. Chris Murphy in Connecticut, you get him because, honestly, I think Chris Murphy is a smart guy. he's not electable beyond legislation, which is fine. But it's Connecticut, so eventually that's going to flip. But it's the same people. You don't see the party trying to lift new voices. You don't see the party trying to express cohesive ideas. The reasonable left is not loud enough. And I say the reasonable left because the far left is always too loud, but it's always because they feel aggrieved, and they rarely present any sort of solution to any problem. It's just always, me, I. And look, there are some points that the far left may make that is accurate. But like, we are not in a position to cater to every single problem that every single person has and every single group of people has. Like, it's impossible. It can't be done. And that's not to say that they need to be quiet and that they need to not feel aggrieved. But at the same time, it's like, what's the best alternative? Right? What's the best course of action? Some kind of unity so that we don't have to deal with borderline fascism? Or is it just, to kind of keep pounding the table for whatever minuscule issue that 0.0001% of the population has? And look, I don't have specific examples, mainly because I don't care that much. But, it just seems as if we're missing the point here, right? The point is to present the downside to the electorate in this country is that there's only two options. And when one option is so fractured and so like not cohesive and together, the other side's going to easily get to where we are today. They let Biden get absolutely obliterated since the election. And sure, a lot of that is entirely self-inflicted because the man cannot get in front of a microphone to offer responses to anything. He can't, just physically can't do it. But my thought all along is like, even though like Pamela lost, like she should have been front and center as a face to the party, something. But nothing. They gave nothing. They just shut up and let Trump and let the right run fucking roughshod over them. They sat and they took it. They bent over and took it. And look, like Kamala's not even close to the best option, but it was literally the only option when you do not have your house in order. The rise of this current administration is probably about 40% the fault of the left for not being able to craft any sort of cohesive message, cohesive platform. And if that continues, nothing will improve. Nothing's going to change. And as someone who sits center left, that's me. I'm not far left by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not right by a minimal stretch. Like there are some things that I feel the right, kind of has a good idea on. Okay, but I am mostly center left. That's me, and I am 10,000% convinced that the majority of this country falls in the same fucking place, center left. I'm convinced of it. But when you only have two options, it's very, very difficult to break that up, right? It's and it puts a lot of people in some farkin terrible situations. And the way things are going now, I'm I don't see an improvement at the very least for the remainder of this year. I still think that it's going to implode from the inside. But I don't know. We'll see, right? And as there are some parts of the world who look at American politics as a fucking reality show, like legitimately. That show is going to get more depressing as the year goes on for a lot of people. God, I hate talking about this shit. I really do. All right, let's get back to real life, which is the usual bullshit that I like to complain about. And one of my favorite things over the past 20 or so years has been sports radio. As you might imagine, I can get behind the general whiny nature of the medium while complaining about shit that means very little in the grand scheme of life. It's an enjoyable, or was an enjoyable thing for me. I remember listening to Dale Arnold, Eddie Andelman in my dad's 1980 Chevy Citation when I was like 17, I think. So I mean that was many moons ago. And their lead in was the fuck was her name? The Sports Babe. Remember the Sports Babe? And she was like this fucking ghastly old woman. I can't remember. Was it the phenomenal Sports Babe? I can't remember what the actual title of the program was. But anyways, they WEEI ruled the airwaves during like the mid '90s is when it really started. When all the teams in Boston were shit. They were mediocre. This was uh pre championship run, pre City of Champions, as you call it, right? And it wasn't until like 2009, I think, when 98.5 the Sports Hub, 98.5 the Sports Hub. Why they got rid of that sounder is beyond me. It's too good. Summer of 2009, and it was not long at all before they dethroned WEEI, the top of the ratings charts, and remain there to this day. It's a hell of a run. But I was an active listener and occasional participant on all of the shows, morning, midday, afternoon, nights, on all of them for a long time. But aside from being, still being a loyal tard or tad, as I guess it would be now, fitting, I don't spend anywhere close to the amount of time listening as I once did. Not even close. And I've joked mainly on Twitter over the course of the last few years that I, do like a monthly check-in with Felger and Maz just because, and then immediately get annoyed and stop listening. Well, it was during one of these monthly check-ins just the other day that I heard Mike Felger ripping Drake May for not being in Foxborough during the Mike Vrabel press conference. And look, I wrote it off as the usual Felger bullshit that he's an absolute master at. As an aside, he will always be at the foot of the GOAT, the best sports shit stirrer this city has ever known, the one and only Daniel Bartholomew Shaughnessy. I don't know if that's really his middle name or not, but it just sounds funny. His Wikipedia literally just shows Dan Shaughnessy, and I think it would be the funniest fucking thing if Dan was his given name. Anyways, Felger wishes he could be half the troll that Shaughnessy is, was, and always will be. But every now and again, he says something that's so fucking stupid that I take note. And this Drake May thing is the new one. And look, I love Dan Shaughnessy. And part of it is that for all of his trolling and all of his, like, shit that gets people aggravated and has for the last 40 years, I would say roughly 3/4 of the time he was right. Plus, he was just a good writer, and it made for a very enjoyable column. When you saw Shaughnessy's stupid face on the front of the sports page on the Globe, you're like, all right, this is going to be fucking entertaining. Sure enough, it always was. But it's like, he was very good at it, and it was fun. It was cheeky. Felger can't do fun and cheeky because he comes off like such a fucking buffoon, right? So he well, actually, before I even get, let's kind of look at the timeline of this thing, okay? So the Patriots season ended Sunday the 5th. Today is the 22nd. So it's been 17 days since the season ended. So on the last day of the season, the 5th. Players' last day for teams that stink is typically the next day. Given that Mayo was fired within an hour, it makes me wonder if perhaps some of them stuck around. You know, I'm sure that there's a handful that live around here, especially the older guys. And you saw that because at the press conference were two guys that snapped the football. It was David Andrews and Matt Cardona. Those were the only players who were at the press conference. Like, Andrews could be a guy who's here for a long time in a capacity of some kind, and he lives in the area. Cardona lives in the area. So they don't have an excuse. Like, they should be there. Mayo gets fired. Next day, last day, who knows how that went for guys that, knew that they were kind of on the fence about sticking around, or guys that knew they had a contract for next year, whatever. But let's just say hypothetically, because of the change in coach, they didn't actually get to separate until Tuesday. So now we're on Tuesday the 7th. But no matter. Point is that the season is over, and after getting his fucking ass beat in for 10 games, the quarterback is deserving and, of course, allowed to go on vacation. So he heads down to Mexico with his very small girlfriend, and he ultimately proposed to her probably last Tuesday. Now, not 100% sure, but Drake May posted on his Instagram last Wednesday, a week ago today, that he was engaged. There's 3 pictures of the two of them. He's on one knee, handing her a ring, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Good for him. Congratulations. Not something that I would do at 22 years old as a starting NFL quarterback, but, good for you. Entirely reasonable shit there, okay? So let's say for the sake of argument that it was last Tuesday that he proposed. And so, could have been the last day or the day before the last day of a vacation, a recovering vacation where he sat around, looked at all the fucking like bruises, scrapes, cuts, whatever that he was covered in, I'm sure, from getting his ass kicked by the worst offensive line in football for, admittedly not an entire season, but probably enough of a beating for an entire season packed within 10 weeks, right? But no, he's apparently not deserving of that. He should have, gone down, sat on the beach for 12 hours, and then immediately beat feet back to the airport to get back to Foxborough. Felger comes out and says, "quote Make work a priority," end quote. That's the key line that he used numerous times, and proceeded to talk about himself, which is one of these weird things that he loves to do. Because anybody who's listened to the show has heard about Felger and his marriages, where the first one got married 2 days later, he's back to work. The second one, he got married 3 days later, back to work. As if that's some kind of weird fucking badge of honor. Because, he's under the impression that nobody does that. I got married on a Saturday. I was back to work on Monday. However, I worked that whole week and then I was gone for the following week on my honeymoon. Two, three totally different career paths, jobs, whatever you want to call it, but not the point. He felt the need to rip this kid for, not cutting short his vacation, for leaving his soon-to-be wife, as if he hadn't, and really only to go and to sit down and watch Mike Vrabel answer questions. That's it. What's he going to gain by doing that? Zero. Zero. My assumption is that Drake May had numerous conversations with the new coach, the owner, the GM, whoever else about what this plan was. That's my assumption. Now, I could be dead wrong, and he said nothing to not a soul. He doesn't strike me as that kind of person. He seems like a genuine individual, and knowing that they were going to hire a coach fairly quickly, like everyone else around here did, including Mike Felger, probably said, "Hey, I'm going to Mexico for a vacation, and I'm going to ask my girlfriend to marry me. I hope that's okay with you." Maybe not in so many words, but my guess is that's part of the conversation. But no, apparently, according to Felger, what he should have done was say, "Sorry, Sugar Plum, I have to get back to Foxborough so I can sit around and listen to reporters ask questions of the new coach that is not going to present any sort of actual answers." It's all fucking stupid. The whole thing is just so fucking dumb. And then you have Maserati just sitting there, collecting a fat paycheck, and offers nothing but 3 words. Quote, "It's a reason," end quote. To which Felger says, "It's not a good one." There's so much there. It's one, none of your fucking business. Two, not a big deal at all. But it's like, man, and then it was just, of course, he couldn't let it go. Just the next day, he's like, "Is Drake May the right guy?" And here's the other thing: you never hear the only person who ever had a retort for Felger has been Sean Thornton. He's the only one. And right after they won the cup, what did he say? Basically said, "Fuck you, Felger," in so many words. But Felger wants to be Shaughnessy so fucking bad. So bad. And if you listen to that show regularly, I feel sorry for you, because I'm certain at least 2 of those hours you're just screaming at whatever device you're listening to it on. And then maybe sitting on hold for the same amount of time before you finally fucking hang up. It's just, and this is what started this, because I wrote down in my notes, in the end, Felger and Maz have become a parody of themselves, and it's now unlistenable. For anyone with a relatively sort of, I don't know, what's the word? I don't want to say common sense, because that's not really accurate, but anybody who has any sort of discerning type, I don't even know how to put it. For anybody like me, ooh, that's the case, I feel for you. But they've become a parody of themselves. And it's not something that you can sit and listen to for an extended period of time. The monthly drop-in, that's pretty accurate. Like, honestly, what more do you need? Because you know what you're getting. If you know what the stories are, you know what you're getting. They're going to talk about something that is negative. They're going to talk about something that pisses you off, only so that you sit there and listen to the show. And again, they are so good at that. So good. Ripped off Howard Stern in that, you want to listen because you want to hear what they have to say next, and it's going to infuriate you. And if you're smart, you can see through it, and you know that it's unlistenable. And I hope Fitzy's new show does well enough just to eat into their ratings a little bit. Not entirely confident, but I like Fitzy, so I hope that he does well. Anyways, fuck. All right, moving on. So, a couple more voicemails this week from dear friend of the show, Mike. I don't want to say his last name, because I think that's, I don't know. Maybe he would be embarrassed if somebody knew that he was, one of 3 listeners to a horrible program. But anyways, he called in 617-804-1557. And so, I'm going to play those for you so that you can hear them. I liked them, and I appreciate them. And I hope he keeps calling. However, I don't want him to be bored. And I really hope, that my stupid show is not the only thing that is saving him from general boredom. Ugh.
Hello, David. Your old pal, Michael here. Car's doing okay. I didn't see a show from you today, so calling to see what's going on. Hope you're feeling all right. Regarding toenails, so I was on a business trip down to Alabama maybe 10 years ago, Birmingham, staying in a newer Hilton Garden Inn, so really nice. And numbnut me says, okay, well, I'm gonna do a workout. I was doing CrossFit at the time, so I'm gonna do one of these on the road CrossFit workouts. In the middle of like my third burpee, I spy a brown toenail sticking out from the carpet. After gagging, I said, maybe working out is not such a good idea here. Burpee when you're on the ground, fully face down for a quick second. So that's my toenail discussion. Talking about this inauguration thing and all that, I feel like you could go on and on about this for hours. I didn't really tune in. My wife's algorithms for all of her social media is all, the rage out stuff, so she's constantly upset. It was, one thing after the other I kind of tuned in, but that hat the wife wore, I don't know, is that some Mary Poppins, psycho stuff right there? That's just scary. That really bugged me the most. But anyways, listen, I gotta go. I gotta run to the grocery store. I heard that, everything's a lot cheaper right now. So, maybe I'll take $50 and go fill up a full grocery cart and feed the family for a couple weeks here. But, stay warm, buddy. We'll talk to you. See, Dave, this is what happens when we don't have a show to listen to. I'm so bored that I need to call twice. And I just felt like I ought to let you know. I don't think you knew this, but I play guitar. And I played a lot in college. Put it down for a long time. I've been picking it up again in the last year or so with the advent of the internet and learning online and just an endless amount of stuff to do. I don't know if you've ever tried an instrument. You don't seem like the type. I feel like if you did, you could be really good because you have a lot of time because you don't have kids. And it's just an endlessly rewarding thing to do, hobby, pastime, passion, whatever. But with long COVID, I've been really getting back into it. And I thought you'd like to know that I've been playing a lot of Tenacious D lately, a lot of the old Jack Black, Tribute, Kielbasa Sausage, Wonder Boy. And I feel like those could be the type of songs that you might be into. You might not, but I could see you being into that back in the day. So that's, when I have a few minutes, pick up the acoustic, jam out, and good to go. So anyways, I just thought I'd share that with you. That's how desperate I am for some semblance of hope, and fun right now, I guess. Winter sucks. This is boring. Put a show so I have something to listen to, would you?
Michael, I do not play the guitar, nor do I play an instrument. However, as you've surely figured out by listening to this program, I have the voice of an angel. And I am, I've been a Tenacious D fan going back. I mean, we're probably at 24 years now, like 2000, 2001, I think. So, yeah, for a very, very long time. Like, they've gotten a bit weird, to be fair. But yeah, they've gotten a bit weird. But yeah, man, that's fucking awesome. I didn't know that you play the guitar. But I think, as interesting as that is, I would like to. You talked about CrossFit in Alabama. Now, granted, it's Birmingham. So my assumption is that being in a metropolitan area, it's not as, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Not as, I don't want to say rednecky, because that's not, I don't want to say that. Unhealthy as some places outside of the metropolitan area. However, I'd still love to know what that was like. CrossFit in Alabama. And coming face to face with a toenail anywhere, whether it's someone else's or even your own. Not good. Not good at all. Doing CrossFit. It's kind of funny. I mean, it's funny to somebody who doesn't and probably never would do CrossFit. Because I'm lazy. So lazy, in fact, that I'm recording this portion of the podcast long after the first two segments of the show. Because I was too lazy and I didn't want to like rush through it. So I'm kind of doing this in piecemeal throughout the course of the Wednesday, taking some time during my lunch break, post work, I guess. I don't know. A lot going on. The best part of the voicemail though was the end of the first one where he said he's got groceries have the price of groceries has gone down, so he's gonna go take $50 and fill up the cart. Well played, sir. Well played. And like the unfunny part is the number of people who probably assume that that's what's going to happen. That was a promise. Don't forget, it was a campaign promise. So we'll see how that plays. He has zero control over that, and not that he would. I don't know. I'm getting off topic and not where I wanted to be. But love the voicemail 617 804 1557. The problem is I can never remember the number off the top of my head, which is kind of distressing because I remembered the other one so easily. And I don't think I can spell anything out with this one. Let's see. Yeah, because there's a 1 and a 0. How about see, 4, number 4 is GHI, so I, and then JKL PQRS. Yeah, there's no vowels in there. I got nothing. I got kind of hosed by Google by, dumping my old number. I guess, it's what happens when you don't use it, right? It doesn't roll off the tongue, 804 1557. I mean, it kind of does, I guess, but not really. But yeah, 617 804 1557. Continue to call in, Mike. Thank you. Your participation is appreciated. And now I've got Tenacious D songs stuck in my head. Anyways. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, the hat. That's right. Melania's hat. What the fuck was that? And it's funny because Mike actually sent me an image on the Instagram of Scorpion. Is that the character in Mortal Kombat with a very similar hat? And the funny part is, the little clip of Don trying to kiss his wife. The hat was in such a manner that he could not get in to offer his smooch. And I wonder if she did that on purpose. But it was a tad scary. I mean, that thing is just hanging right over her eyes. I forgot about that fucking hat. God, that thing was terrible. But I don't know. Look, she's the fashion icon. I am not. So what do I know? And I say that loosely. But his Trump's abnormally large son was also there. That kid is fucking huge. He might be as tall as my buddy Mike, because Mike is a tall man, and I wonder if Baron is the same height. 6'12". Wild stuff, man. Wild, wild stuff. Was there anything else that I wanted to talk about before I got to three gripes? Dave Chappelle the other night. He was on SNL, and I think I watched maybe a clip of 2 minutes of his monologue or prologue. Or prologue, monologue. I don't know, whatever. Prologue is the portion before a book. Monologue is single log. And he had talked about Jimmy Carter. Great story. Great story. I if you haven't seen it, go find it, because it really, quite frankly, I think it gives a really good insight into the human being that Jimmy Carter was. And again, as Chappelle mentioned, I don't know if he was a great president, but I know he was a good man. And he was one of the best among us. I'm confident in saying that. But that's neither here nor there, I suppose, right? I'm losing steam, okay? Losing steam. And it's another short shift, folks. Another short shift. Buckle up. All right, it is time for everyone's favorite part of the program. It is the end, and it is 3 gripes. Gripe number 1, drug commercials. This has been a gripe, I'd say, numerous times over the course of the last however many years that I've been yapping into a microphone. But the other night, watching football, the sheer volume of new drug commercials, new pharmaceutical fucking commercials, it was through the roof. It was literally like every other commercial was for some sort of what is essentially a narcotic in some cases. But like they're always the most fucking random things. And to this day I've yet to be able to figure out the reasoning behind some of these drugs that are for super niche issues. I mean, there are some that are, I don't know, like you're actually competing with other medications, and so you run a commercial. That's typically how advertising would work. However, when it comes to medications, it doesn't work that way because 9 times out of 10, it's something new that does not have an alternative or a generic of some kind yet. And so I just wonder if it's all about getting people to commit to this particular, uh, drug before they can access it elsewhere. And again, I don't know. I don't know. So I just don't know. However, I find it to be it's what it's like to me. I think that drug commercials are akin to those late afternoon meetings that the CEO or the manager or whomever will just drop in your calendar like a vague 4 p.m. meeting, only for it to be complete nonsense that could have easily been shared via email, right? So the analogy here is that if a doctor knows you have symptoms ABC, diagnoses you with X, he can send you an email with an ad for this fucking particular drug. And it's everything that you're going to need within the email. Instead, you get to watch some bullshit about, somebody riding a bicycle or walking with their wife or doing whatever that these drug companies think is like normal human behavior. Because I'm convinced they really don't know what that is. And then to have like the bottom of the screen, which is almost like an ESPN score crawl of fucking side effects. And you're supposed to sit there and like pay attention to, okay, that's I have that. What does that say? Oh, Jesus. What? My taint? What? Gangrenous? Huh? What? And now you're scrambling. You might be rewinding the TV, you might be Googling whatever this medication was, just to double check to see that, yes, taking this medicine can give you a gangrenous taint. Is that what you want? Imagine having to make that decision. Oh, sitting with your doctor, okay, you have, you know, you have Huzamawatsis. It's a terrible disease. Not even disease, a terrible ailment. Good news, though, there's a new medication for Huzamawatsis. There are some side effects, though. So you can be potentially rid of your who's what's its, or uh, the area between your ball sack and your asshole could suddenly become gangrenous. Which would you choose? There is no right answer for that, right? Zero. A gangrenous taint. That's a good band name. Let me add that to my band name list because that's fucking good. That's good eating, Clark. That's great. Gangrenous taint. All right, add it to the list. Right beneath the pit diapers, which I don't really like that one, but you know what? Hey, it's good. Yeah, gangrenous taint. That's a legitimate side effect from one of these drugs, and I wish I could tell you. I'm upon my faithful steed. Then we're gonna ride, gonna smoke some weed. I'm upon my big ass steed and ride, ride, ride. Mediocre voice of an angel. Yeah, gangrenous taint. Ooh, girl. Gripe number 2, Jay Feely. Now, if you're not familiar with Jay Feely somehow has managed to secure a job with CBS Sports where he talks about kicking. And so you have Jim Nantz tossing it over to Jay Feely every now and again to talk about kicking. How did that happen? How is it that a relatively mediocre kicker, this gentleman played for let's see, 2, 4, 6 teams across a let's see, 8, 10, 12, 14 or so year career. Decent kicker, okay? But that's where it ended. Just decent. 3 about this, okay? Why is there no defensive tackle person talking about defensive tackle? Why does it have to be a kicker? Why do we need like a kicking analyst during a game? Nobody gives a flying fuck about kickers, right? And I've talked about kickers in the past and saying, oh, well, teams should really probably be smarter about kickers. They need to, treat them a little bit better. Uh, that's not for the television audience. That's for like legitimate, you know, football teams. Yet here we are having to listen to fucking Jay Feely come out and say, well, yeah, he was practicing his kicks before the game and it was windy. Back to you, Jim. Get this fucking clown show off the television. Like, what is CBS paying this guy? Like, we know what they're paying Tony Romo, which is, a fucking pantload of money. They're paying Jay Feely something, which is way more than he probably should be paid. Man, fucking kicker analyst or kicking analyst, Jay Feely. What an entirely useless thing. Entirely. I don't know why that bothers me so much, but it really does. It really does bother me. And I guess it probably shouldn't, but, you know, but it does. Anyways, let's move on from kickers. And I know he did or said something at some point that, was kind of shitty. But then, people I wish, my laptop for some reason just does not want to cooperate with the internet. I can't really do much of anything else because it's so fucking slow. I need a new one, but I can't afford a new fucking laptop. Uh oh, he's a big friend of Sean Hannity. Ugh. All right, well, that says a lot about him. But still, he's a fucking kicker. Why do we care? Jesus Christ. Anyways, gripe number 3, Bob Euchre dying. Yeah, I mean, the guy was 90. So, what a fucking unbelievable run for Bob Euchre. 50 years behind the microphone doing play-by-play for the Brewers. 6 years playing baseball, and then sprinkled in throughout, dozens of appearances on the Tonight Show, a really excellent niche side gig as an actor, a television actor, Mr. Owens on Mr. Belvedere. These shows about butlers, that's a topic for another day. 80s shows about butlers. There was so many. Think about it. Mr. Belvedere, Benson, Who's the Boss? I mean, anything more than one is too many shows about butlers. What was the appeal? What was Hollywood's general fascination with butlers in the 1980s? You want to write a fucking a thesis. I just gave you one. So if you're a college age student and you're looking for a real riveting subject in your psychology class, butlers in the 1980s. And I'm sure there's another one. I'm sure there's more. But yeah, butlers. Anyways, um, and then of course he was in Major League, but, in Miller Lite commercials, and he was just like a generally funny dude, and he called a good ball game. I remember specifically when I went to Milwaukee a number of years ago for a Packers game. I wanted to hear Bob Euchre on the radio, like in a car on the radio. And so we went to a Brewers game, and I didn't get to hear a lot of the play-by-play, but I did get to hear some like pregame stuff and whatnot before the game started. And it was, I don't know, it was just cool. It was one of those things that you know, um, if you like the sport and you like the way that television and radio presented the game, like that's the kind of voice that you want to hear. And so yeah, it's sad that he's passed, but at the same time, again, 90 years old, and he was just interviewed over the summer. I can't remember who, might have been Tom Rinaldi on ESPN talking to him, and asking him, why do you still do this? He's like, because I love it. I can't say I blame him. The guy he lived the dream for so many, and he did it for so long. Just unbelievable. Absolutely incredible. And he's the kind of guy that, you can think about what that might be like if you like met him, you know, even for, yeah, what am I doing? uh, just thinking about, this must be cool, or would have been cool now, Uh, this second cup of coffee was needed. I'm a little wired. I still have some more um, of the work day to do, but thankfully I have wrapped up this bullshit. Offered very little other than the usual complaints and observations. Ha ha! That was very Jabba the Hutt. Fitting, because I'm a fat sack of goo. Even when I have like a good self-deprecating joke, I manage to fuck it up. Anyways, that's enough for today. Again, short shift. I think Wednesdays now is going to be the play until the next time I change the day. And it'll come randomly during the course of Wednesday. Could be at night, could be in the morning, could be in the afternoon, could be Friday. Who knows? But hopefully I can spin this. Look, the fact that I've done, I don't know however many now since I restarted this thing, honestly is astonishing to me. Because it serves zero purpose. No one fucking cares. And it's just one of these things that this is as close to a hobby as I have. Is fucking complaining into a microphone, which is not a hobby. This ain't a hobby. This is you know, at this point it's again become a commitment, which is not what I had hoped for. But it is what it is. And again, I say this all the time, I still enjoy it. So it's made for an audience of one. Anyways, that'll do. Listen, I am on Instagram at ComplainsPod. I am on Facebook, but fuck Facebook. I'm on Threads, which is basically Instagram. I don't know. Now I'm seeing all of these new things pop up. I might have to pop into some of these like super new fucking things just to fuck around. But yeah. 617-804-1557. Call in, leave your thoughts. Let's talk. Do you have thoughts? Share them. I would appreciate it. And as always, please tell your friends, tell your moms, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Godspeed, ta-ta.
I'm without speech. I'm speechless.